So you mentioned within the allowable permitted activity that it's only windsurfing currently since 1996.
Yes.
And that happened because public hearings were held, the community was okay with it, and therefore it was and is allowable.
That's correct.
So under the current procedures now, to allow kayaking, for example, you would have to go through that same process as you mentioned. And as we have seen, the community would likely come out strongly opposed, and the permit would not, the activity would not be allowed under the current process.
That's correct.
So what's the problem with that?
So I explored the concession contract versus the permits. So this way I don't go to public hearing. Under the concession contract, I will write specifications. The specifications will be then submitted for legal counsel and then will be bidded by Department of Enterprises.
So I don't know if I'm not seeing this, but that just seems like it's a workaround to this current process that's already in place.
It might be, it might appear to be that way, but you also need to know that I have a letter from the neighborhood board stating that they would allow commercial activities on a limited number and also on a limited number of kayaks that would be allowed on the beach. So that was provided to me when I met with the neighborhood board.
I see what the problem is. I would just be concerned about trying to work around the existing system and process that we have, just because we know that it would likely not be approved because of the outcome of the public hearing. That should not be the purpose. That should not be a cause to try to create another way to go around that.
Testify, Mr. Prentice. Councilmember Gabbard.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony. I saw earlier when there was a statement made about a Kailua Neighborhood Board's position on allowable activities or allowing a certain number of permits or concessionaires. You had raised your hand, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on that statement. And
I did that because I was hopeful that you would ask me that question.
Here I am.
The neighborhood board established an investigative committee under the Sunshine Law, and it was about this issue. And we felt, as we do, that it's commercial activities on public property and all that is a wrong thing. So we went and met with the Parks Director, and he indicated to us that there had to be some commercial. And that was a real operating. So we said, oh God, it's got to be commercial. That's not right. But what are we going to do? So let's try to minimize it. So how do we minimize it? And we thought, well, the only thing we could do is try to get them to have one single limited concession that only is allowed to rent out a minimum number of items. And our proposal listed minimum number of items. It was based on, the number was based on a lot of things, like the carrying capacity that the state allows at the Popoya and Mokulua Islands. Also on what would be reasonable that somebody would bid on the concession contract. But we wanted to definitely come up with something if they mandate to us, the administration mandates to us that we have to have commercial, come up with something minimal that would pass muster. So we came up with one concession limited by very strictly limited to what they could rent. And also we had some other restrictions in there about insurance, but at the same time we didn't want to micromanage the Parks Department either, so we left some of those other things up to him. He said he was looking at the Maui regulations, for example, that are very strict as to qualifications for people who are involved and things like that. So that was why we came up with the one concession idea. We're hopeful that you'll pass this bill. As I say, it's definitely the right thing to do. And if you don't, then we won't be going away.